definitely didn't sign off on that. Yeah, you did. You accepted the terms and agreements, so just so you know. Twitter also reserves the right to sell your cookies. So whatever cookies that Twitter gets from your computer, from your browsing habits, they can sell those. LinkedIn is super interesting because LinkedIn is a business website, and I need to tell this to Isaiah McPeak because he posts a lot of content on LinkedIn. But basically, LinkedIn reserves the right to copy, prepare derivative works of, improve, distribute, publish, remove, retain, add, process, analyze, and use and commercialize in any way now known or in the future discovered. So they can basically take anything that you post on LinkedIn and again, do whatever they want with it. And LinkedIn, who knows what LinkedIn even is? Okay, for those of you who don't know, it's like a business social network for like entrepreneurs and networkers. And what a lot of people will use it for is they'll use it to post like their business ideas. And I know Isaiah writes a lot of like really interesting like analysis stuff on LinkedIn, and it's it's a lot of really interesting content that people post on there. Richard Branson, arguably one of the richest people on the planet, he owns Virgin Media, he owns like Virgin Airlines, Virgin Mobile, the Virgin record label, he owns all of that. Billionaire. He posts stuff on LinkedIn all the time, and it's estimated that he loses millions of dollars every year just because he clicked I accept to the terms and agreement on LinkedIn and then subsequently posts stuff. Because LinkedIn can take his content, one of the richest people on the planet, and do whatever they want with it. Does he need the extra millions of dollars a year in royalties? Probably not. But it's still, again, going back to the whole principle of it, it's not a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal. And again, they also can sell your cookies like Twitter can. Facebook, also, this sounds familiar, they reserve the right to a license to use your content in any way it sees fit that goes beyond merely covering the operation of the service in its current form. They can basically give your content to any third party that they please. So the government, of course, needs a warrant or something to come knocking on Facebook's door, or at least that's what they tell us. They need a warrant to talk to Facebook and get our information. But Facebook, basically any information that you've ever put on Facebook, they can just sell it to anybody they want for as much money as they want. The interesting about this is that this license exists even after you delete your account. How many of you have deleted a Facebook account before? Any of you? Good, because I hate that. I always think it's really tacky when somebody's like, oh, I'm going to be on Facebook, but now I'm going to deactivate my account to show that I'm better than social media for like 2 weeks. That drives me crazy. Do you guys know people like that? No. Yeah, it's really annoying. Anyway, but the joke's on them, because even if they deactivate their account, Facebook still has their information, so ha-ha, pretentious. And also they can sell your cookies, so that's kind of the punchline. Okay, I want you to track with this. I'm going to read you the direct quote from Facebook's terms and agreements, and I want you to really engage and listen into the language of it. It says, you hereby grant Facebook an irrevocable, perpetual, non-exclusive, they use the word perpetual, that's a really dramatic word, non-exclusive, transferable, fully paid, worldwide license with the right to sub-license to A, use, copy, publish, stream, store, retain, publicly perform, display, transmit, scan, freeformat, modify, edit, frame, translate, excerpt, adapt, create derivative works, and distribute it through multiple tiers. Any user content you, 1, post on or in connection with the Facebook service or the promotion thereof is subject only to your privacy settings. Or 2, enable a user to post, including by offering a share link on your website, and B, to use your name, likeness, and image for any purpose, including commercial or advertising, each of A and B, on or in connection with the Facebook service or in the promotion thereof. So it's a lot of jargon, but basically, literally anything that happens on Facebook, they own. How many of you guys, when you think about Facebook, you think of it as a company? Right, Claire and Noah. Not surprising. There was a great quote by a senior analyst at Microsoft, and she says, I'm okay with these social media companies being companies, but we need to stop thinking of them as benign social services and start thinking about them as the businesses that they actually are. Because social media isn't just a service. A lot of times we just think about it as an integral part of our life. We log onto Facebook, we share, we do whatever. It's just a utility. But it's not, because there's a business model behind it, and the business model is harvesting your information. That's pretty much what it is. Not to sound super dramatic about it, but that is what it is. In 2009, Facebook's user agreement said, you may remove your user content from the site at any time. If you choose to remove your user content, the license granted will automatically expire. However, you acknowledge that the company may retain archived copies of your user content. So in 2009, they were basically like, okay, you pull anything down, we'll forget it ever happened. we'll host it in an archive just in case you end up being an axe murderer or something and the government needs it. But for the most part, we're just going to forget that you ever posted your favorite movies on Facebook. Totally fine. In 2013, that clause was just totally struck. How many of you remember the big deal when Facebook updated its terms and conditions? Yes? Yeah, it was a big deal about 1.5 years ago. And that was what the big deal was about. They cut that clause. They cut the clause saying, if you pull your user content down, we won't have it anymore. And basically, anything you've ever posted on Facebook is eternally in Facebook's database, and they can do what they want with it. And so, when your parents are like, don't post a thing on the internet's forever, and you're just like, yeah, okay, whatever, I can delete it, it's not a big deal. Well, the Facebook internet is forever, at least. I don't know about the rest of it, but definitely Facebook. Facebook is forever. Okay, this is a really funny slide, and I wish I had a projector, but the slide title is The Totally Bananas True Google Conspiracy, and so I'm going to tell you about that right now. In 1999, Google came out, and it was a big deal. It was really cool. Everybody was like, oh my goodness, we can search the internet. What a novel idea, blah, blah, blah. Their privacy policy comes out, and their privacy policy basically says, hey, you're totally anonymous. We're not gonna sell anything. Again, we'll have your cookies, but literally, you are anonymous, and your information isn't going to go anywhere. Your browsing habits, your search habits aren't going to go anywhere. And what you can do is how many of you guys know what Wayback is? Wayback.com? Yeah. Wayback.com is an internet archive site, and basically what they do is it takes screenshots of every website on the internet at a given point in a year to do an internet archive. It's actually a really fun site. You can log on and see what Amazon looked like in 1999. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, if you go on Wayback in 1999, and it's a legit company too, but if you go on Wayback in 1999 and you look at Google's privacy policy, that's what it says, okay? In 2001, 2 years later, Google changed it to say, okay, you're totally anonymous, except if the government wants the information, we have to comply. That was the update that they made 2 years later, 2001. Now it's interesting. How many of you know that Google hosts their privacy policies in archive? Okay, well, they do. If you go on google.com and you go to some back page or something, it's pretty easy to find. I didn't do it, but it's fairly simple to find. If you go on there, you can find all their privacy policies since 1999. Now, it's interesting because there is a discrepancy between the privacy policy that Wayback, the Internet Archive Service, shows and the privacy policy that Google actually posted. The 1999 Google privacy policy that they posted and in their archive is actually the one from 2001. The one on Wayback is the one that talks about the fact that you're totally anonymous and they will never give away your information. So basically what Google did is they completely wiped off the fact that they ever even considered you an anonymous individual. Why do you think they would do that?
So that you don't know how much has changed.
So you don't know how much has changed. Exactly. It's really interesting because when Facebook changed their stuff, they changed all the defaults to be public so that whenever you open an account and you share stuff, the automatic thing is public, right? The automatic share setting is public. And this same woman who's a senior analyst at Microsoft, she was basically like, yeah, it's interesting because people don't usually care what the default is. People only care when the default is changed. So if the default from the get-go is that all of your information is public, people get pretty benign in that. People get pretty settled in, they're okay. They're complacent in what's the default. But the minute you change the default, be it for good or for bad, that's when people get kind of freaked out because we're people and we don't like it when companies change for some reason. That's just part of our psychology. And so what Google did is they understood this and they played on this. So even if you are the most researched person and you're like, I'm going to go on Google's privacy policy from 1999, you will go on there and you'll see, oh, okay, well my information's in public from day one. It's a little less scary than hearing that your information was once never public and now is public. That's my Google conspiracy. How many of you believe it? Maybe? Kinda? Okay, cool. Better than none of you. But basically, what happened there is that Google changed what the very, very baseline standard was. And they changed that on their website so that even people who went back to look at it would feel a sense of security in knowing that the default has always been that your information is public. And like I said earlier, the Patriot Act became this huge foundation of a brand new business model in the 21st century. And the business model is the buying and selling and sharing of your information, because that's how Facebook makes their money. They make their money on advertisements, but advertisements are based off of information. And I'm going to get into something really cool in a minute about that. But who knows what the third part, oh yeah.
I was going to say, it's interesting that even after the whole thing happened in 2013 with Facebook, that more people use Facebook nowadays than before. It's like we don't care. We just give them their privacy.
Exactly. It's the norm is becoming to not care about privacy. And basically what this whole talk that I'm giving is going to be a lot of useful background information and a lot of useful rhetoric when you're talking about electronic surveillance. Because it's going to be super crucial to understand how we got to the place we are today. Because we do live in a world where it's like, okay, basically anything I post on the internet is public. And you know, we're kids who've grown up in this, so we understand that this is how it goes without saying. Like this is just the default, like I said. So it's going to be super important to understand how we got here and the tones that have changed both in policy making and technology that put us here. So does anybody have any questions so far? Anything they want to share? Yes?
Is it the same thing with with other websites that take down personal information, like when you're making an account for Gmail or Yahoo?
Yeah, I'm not, I know that pretty much blanket, the terms and agreements allow them to license all of your information and content. I don't know if they are allowed to keep it after your account's deactivated. I know that Facebook was the big deal when that happened. I don't know if the other companies are like that. I know Google has your information for forever as well, but I don't know about the other ones.